Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Unfiltered podcast. I'm back here again with Ben, and we have some amazing questions for one another.
Welcome back, everyone. We like to kick off the Unfiltered podcast with what we call rapid fire questions. We ask one another questions that we are only allowed to answer with a quick yes or no response. We'll get into more details on these questions throughout the episode. But to kick things off, we start with rapid fire. We invite all of our listeners to participate. Post us your thoughts, your answers to each of these questions.
Yeah,
as we go.
Absolutely. All right, I'll start.
What do you got for me?
Do you agree with this idea that women and men are equal?
What a way to start.
Yes, I know it was going to be a complicated one.
Well,
yes or no?
Only allowed to say yes or no. Yes. Okay. Sticking on the subject of men and women, would you stay with a woman, a partner, that you were, I guess, either dating or married to, if she cheated on you?
No. No.
An easy answer on that. Okay.
All right. For this round, we only had 2 questions each because we have a question from our previous episode that we will be carrying over today to this show. All right, let's go back to it. Do you want us to start with the question from the previous episodes? Or do you want us to send that towards the end?
Well, do we have one more rapid fire question?
No, we went with 2 because we had a question from the...
Yeah, but I think I only asked you one, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you only asked me one, and I asked you one.
Okay, one more rapid fire.
Yeah, we still have one more rapid fire. I'm supposed to ask now. Do you believe in love?
Yes.
Okay. Next is you.
All right. Is the United States the most racist country in the world?
No. By far, no.
All right.
All right, I ask you.
Let's dive into it.
Okay, I ask you if you believe that women and men are equal, and you said yes. Why do you think that?
Yes, it's a broad question, and that's my broad answer. Right? If you look into, if you get on a granular level, there are obviously things where men and women are very unequal. You could look at it biologically, physically. You could look at it at a completely different level of saying, are men and women equal financially, in society? Look at it that way as well. And in many aspects, no. But I replied yes to that question because I believe that the power balances out with when we look at the word equality is a general term, but women, especially nowadays, I think wield their power in useful ways, in what they're able to gain. And as we've discussed in previous episodes, women in many cases are becoming top earners financially, excelling in various career fields and becoming doctors and lawyers and everything else. I think that there's a balance of power. And we've also discussed in previous episodes, right, that young men are struggling right now.
Absolutely.
There's a major crisis for young men around the world because they're sort of falling behind in a lot of categories when it comes to earning and their contributions to society. And so the reason I would answer yes to that is because more and more so, women are exerting their power.
Yeah, they're becoming intellectually way ahead of men.
Intellectually, that's a great point. I mean, on the educational level, you see a major shift. Just in the past few decades. It's gone from, way back when I was in high school. The shift was already happening, but in my high school, it went from the valedictorians of the class, the top students of the class, going from mostly men, to over the years shifting to all women, all young female students were graduating top of the class.
Yeah.
And so you could argue many factors going into this. I would argue video games being one of them. Young men's obsession with video games and not really focusing on.
I think when it comes to these video games, I think it's a product of a problem. It's not the problem. Yeah, I think because
What's the root of that problem?
I like to think that the root of that problem is the fact that, again, it goes back to that meaning and purpose that we talked about. Yes, when we have a society filled with young men that really don't know why they're here, or why they should be here, or why they should even try, then we get the society of people that just sit at home and play video games every day. I think it's a product of the problem.
Yeah, but I think it can start. The problem with the video games and this addiction to all this digital stuff is that can start at a very young age. Now you see kids from 5 years old addicted to their screens and playing all these, Roblox, whatever the hell it is. And that contributes to it, right? Because that's also teaching these kids to be less social and also to use their intellect to I should say not use their intellect towards more meaningful things and engaging in school and learning valuable things. And to your point, it's isolating.
It's very isolating.
It's very isolating. It's another way that even grown men now are contributing to their own isolation, living through basically these digital escapes from the reality of the world. But I mean, getting back to the question, let's be realistic too. There's still a major imbalance of power when you look politically in the world. Many would argue it's still a man's world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do believe that within society, women are really grabbing and monetizing their power in various ways, and I think that's a positive thing. In many ways, but I think it's also when we touch on the subject of the crisis that young men are in, it's in many ways maybe threatening to these men who feel inadequate because of what are becoming unrealistic expectation of men in this society nowadays.
Yeah, when I asked this question about you think women and men were equal, I was like, from my angle, it was a trick question because I was trying to see if you would try to separate the different parts in which women and men can be different from one another, might not be equal, but also be very conscious about the parts that they can be equal in, which is places that are around the intellectualism of our society. Yeah, in positions of power, the workforce, yes, men and women can equal the. But also, we also must be very, very honest with ourselves and stop with the nonsense. Women and men are equally not equal in a lot of different areas.
Sure.
They are both very special and unique in their own ways, but they are not equal.
Sure.
Which also leads me to a question that I would probably ask you later on this very show, if they should be allowed to play in same sports together. Now, biologically, they are not equal. They should not be allowed to play in same sports together. So we have to be able to draw that line when we talk about this equality between men and women, because to an extent, we are beginning to put the girl child at a disadvantage when we let these men run in their sports. But again, that's another question I have for you down the line. So it was a trick question for you, and actually you handled it pretty well. So yeah.
Passed.
No further questions in this line. No
Can't be fooled.
No further questions in this line.
All right. Going to the first question I asked you. If you were in a relationship, and your partner cheated on you, would you stay in that relationship? But you said
No.
absolutely
No.
not.
That's ridiculous.
Now, let me ask you, is that conditional for you? Are there circumstances where you might be able to forgive and forget?
There's no way I can walk through that. And I don't understand how people are able to walk through that. But if you've been someone that you've been cheated on and you have walked through that to a place where you find peace again with that same person, kudos to you. You're a brave person. I'm just not that brave. I cannot do it. Because my imagination is just so vivid. I just keep thinking about the process, everything that happened. And again, this might just be personal for me because it's not like there's some research behind this, but I do not think if a woman was to cheat on you, she's still emotionally involved with you, because I think women are emotional beings, and I think for them to get to that point of cheating, a lot of thoughts have been put into it. They calculate about everything. Women are, should I say, perfectionists? They everything have to be perfect with them in relationships. So if a woman was to cheat on you, my brother, she's no longer with you. She left you a long time ago. Unlike men, you can go out to the bar, you can get drunk, you can make a mistake, and you get up in the morning and you're like, oh no, I messed up. And you're not totally in love with them, and you tell them this is a mistake, can never happen again.
Okay.
Women do not make those mistakes.
Well,
if a woman cheats on you, something is definitely lacking in your relationship. She's already moved on.
Those are some strong words, some bold statements. I would like to hear, our female listeners' perspective on this.
And male listeners,
for sure.
Yeah.
I would say, I guess, so women and men probably cheat for different reasons.
Absolutely.
And I want to be clear. I mean, I think that that men, whether it's a biological or evolutionary trait, many of us do have this this sort of biological, what would be the term for it? Something driving us to reproduce, and I think that's at a very scientific level. It's hard to explain, maybe.
It's biology to men.
And put into words, but yeah, it's this mentality of wanting to spread the seed, right?
It's an impulse, man. Just kind of.
It's an impulse.
You don't have control over it. It just kicks.
We as men obviously can speak from experience on that, and some women might dispute it and say that this is just something that men use as an excuse. But I would make that argument based on this is personal thing, based on my personal experience, because different relationships have different dynamics. But I do think that, to your point, women cheating, it's almost more in some cases maybe out of spite, feeling insecure in the relationship and maybe doing it out of a way of getting back at their partner.
I don't believe that.
You don't?
I'm sorry, but
I don't believe that.
Yes, I believe when it comes to emotions, emotional intelligence, and relationships, by miles ahead, women are more mature than men.
They're what?
More mature than men emotionally.
Oh, no
by
doubt about
miles
that.
ahead. There's no way a woman would go out of your relationship with her if she hasn't really sat down and had that conversation with herself. Yeah. But men, again, we act on impulse. But again, that's no excuse though, because we are civilized beings. Yeah. The only difference between men and the wild beasts is our intellectualism. We must be able to control those impulses. Yeah. So if you say, "Oh, I cheated out of impulse," stop lying. You cheated because you wanted to. But again, you can do it and you still love your lady.
Sure.
That's what I was trying to get to. But women, if they cheat on you, they no longer love you. Move on.
I don't know. Look, I want to get to a point in a relationship where we're so far down the road, it won't even matter. Like, there's a misconception, right? That when you get into a relationship, committed relationship, or you put the ring on, you're married, that all of a sudden you stop being human beings, right? And that's not real. You're still going to be the same human beings you were before, the same temptations around you, the same distractions. Relationships are really difficult because you have to...
It's a complicated territory to navigate.
You have to be able to really be committed and to not put yourself in certain situations that could lead to infidelity. But To be honest, I want to get to a point where our relationship and foundation is so strong that even if it did happen, it wouldn't be something that just brings us down, because our relationship is so mature and so deep to the point that we know
You're really progressive, aren't you?
little mistakes
I'm
don't
sorry.
get in our way. Hey, as Fireboy says, if I cheat on you, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you cheat
No.
on me, no worries.
No. You cannot cheat.
No worries.
You
Hey,
cannot cheat on platinum woman. Like if we're in a relationship and you cheat on me, I do not care. If it is 50 years of building, whatever, we take half of everything and go. I'm sorry.
Just like that.
There's no walking through it.
Just like that.
We cannot.
Okay.
And if I cheat on you and you choose to walk and go to counseling with me and do all of that, that's your choice. Honestly, that's your choice. I'm also expecting that if I was to cheat on you, you pack your bags and you leave.
Hey, we can work through it.
No, we cannot.
We can.
No, we cannot. Like the way I look at women, I don't know why we have kind of normalized this idea of sleeping around in this our generation. When women are sacred, their bodies are like the temple. It is something
Sure.
that men should pursue and give women enough proof that they should be allowed into that world.
Yeah.
Get it? You don't
Well-
just get intimate with anybody.
I'm not here to speak for women, but and that's why I'm
I'm not
interested.
speaking for women, I'm speaking for the society. I'm sorry. Women are just part of the society. I'm speaking for the society. Women, no,
But I wonder if they would agree with my point that the cause of cheating would be different, right? That they would cheat, men and women in general. We're always talking in general, right? Because there's always going to be exceptions. Like I said, different people have a lot of different kind of relationships.
again, yep, you're right.
In certain relationships, the woman might be more the dominant, the more alpha. There's always different dynamics. But in general, I'm speaking that the reason for a man to cheat is more of sort of the way that we're wired. And that's evolution. I mean, that we're supposed to be out there hunting and finding.
Again, that's no
mates.
excuse though.
I'm not saying it's not an excuse to cheat. It
should be
but
similar
it's a
enough to
different
control
root
those urges.
cause. It's a different root cause.
Absolutely.
If you've decided to love someone unconditionally, there's no excuse for it, right? You've decided to control those urges and
I'm committed.
yeah, and like I said before, avoiding getting yourself into situations that could lead to that. But the point is, I'm wondering if women, if our listeners would agree, men would cheat for those sort of evolutionary reasons. Women would cheat more out of spite or revenge, or I mean, also if they're just checked out of the relationship mentally.
I just believe it's only one way. It's only one reason a woman would cheat on a man. It's just one.
Mm-hmm.
They are checked out. That's all. The reason they checked out, the reasons they checked out might vary. It might be economical, it might be social, it might be just because you just neglect them. But before they cheat on you, they checked out before they do it. That's why I don't think you should forgive a lady if they cheat on you. I don't think so, because they are no longer with you. You're no longer their Mr. Right. No, you're no longer the man in their fantasy. No. And you can never
We can't ignore the fact that alcohol could also play a big role.
for women.
But that goes back to me saying you can't put yourself in situations where you might be vulnerable.
Again, you guys are really brave if you forgive women that cheat on you and you walk through it
you cheat on me
and try to fix it. I'm not that mature. I'm sorry, I'm not that brave. Yeah, I'm really not. Every time we're together, I'm gonna think about what might or might have not happened.
Okay.
I'm gonna think about the entire process. No. And if I cheat on you, please feel free to leave me. If you choose to stay with me, don't ever bring it up. We need to move on. But if you cheat on me, I'm sorry. It's over. It's over.
Well, yeah, if you talk about moving past something like that, it's one thing to say it and say, I can forgive, but to your point, can you actually forget? I mean, can you actually really, truly move past it to a point where you still
My
trust
elder
and
brother always tells
love
me,
one
never,
another?
if a lady cheats on you, no matter how much you love her, let her go. Just let her go. Start all over again.
All right.
She will do it again.
Question
Anyways.
answered. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Don't ever cheat on my man, Platini.
Oh yeah, please do not. If you're gonna cheat on me, call me. Let's have the conversation. Tell me you want to leave. Tell me you're fantasizing about another guy. I will not force you. Go right ahead. But please respect me enough to tell me. All right, I asked you in a rapid fire round and you said you believe in love. Why do you believe in love?
I do believe in love. I think that love is what makes us human beings. I think that it's something that's one of the things that can make this life worth living. This time on Earth is made up of the emotions, the connections that we make, and so love is it's a complicated thing. It's because it's made out to be this perfect idea that and especially the way it's portrayed in films, right? In romance films and
Hallmark movies.
the Hallmark movies where a lot of where a lot of women might get the idea of what they want in love, but reality, in my opinion, is that look, love is it's a feeling we get to catch once in a while. You can fall madly in love with somebody, and there's no greater feeling than that when you meet this one person and you're just like, man, that person, like it becomes beyond just emotional. It becomes such a physiological thing that your body literally reacts to this person. But we also have to be realistic in the fact that those feelings fade. We're human beings. It's not realistic to believe this feeling that we get to catch
That
just going
excited me is not
to
gonna
maintain
steal.
itself for the rest of our entire lives. No, we have to be prepared for the fact that in order to catch that feeling and then to make use of it, you have to be willing to build from that feeling. And because the feelings are going to fade, the emotions will fade. That's part of being human. But if you truly love someone enough, then you decide to love them unconditionally, which means you love them even when you get to know them to the point that
You can't stand it
you
anymore.
know their flaws, all of that. You see every side of them. It's not going to be magical for the entire journey. You have to build to a point where love becomes something that's unconditional, to where even when you kind of hate this person, you're like,
You're still willing to
but I
make it
still
work.
love them.
So do you think one of the things that we're missing in our relationships today is the fact that we no longer focus on building friendships? We just focus solely on attraction, initial attraction.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because we do live in the dating app culture, right? Where everything is made, it's made to be visual, right? So you're just swiping through these apps. What you're looking for is the physical.
Absolutely.
That's what you're basing the entire thing on. Let's be real. They try to put other things in there, and some of the dating services, dating apps do a good job of that, portraying your personality. But still, look, it's the same even in real life. The first thing that's going to catch your attention is the physical.
Is a physical, always physical.
Yeah, and absolutely. But I think it has gotten to a point where it's hyper focused on the physical. We've also come to a place in society where it's common to have multiple partners, I think, and to be
We're just normalizing anything these days, and that's something we should stop. The standards are really low.
sure, but I mean, but what do you think is a better approach at dating?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to
build
state
a
this
deeper
for
connection.
you and the audience.
Okay.
I'm 28 years old today, and I do not think I've ever been in love. So I don't think.
Never.
Yeah, I think
Never felt it.
absolutely. I think when I'm talking about love and relationships, I'm coming from a more logical standpoint, not emotional. Because I've never wanted to put someone above everything the way people explain love to me. I hear when you're in love, you want to put that person above everything. No, me, I just played a part really well. And I've had a lot of relationships, some that lasted for up to 6 months, 7 months. But it was more like I just played a part. I just wanted a girl. I just wanted someone around me. But as they fell in love progressively into the relationship, I was falling out of that infatuation. Yeah. And at one point, every time, at one point, I would just call them and I would tell them, you know what? This is not working out for me. Because it's like you being in my space now is beginning to suffocate me. Yeah, so I end it. I always ended it before it gets too rough. So I've never really had that chance to make anybody the center of my world. Which brings me to another question for you. I've seen a lot of breakups. Do you think just one chance of experiencing love is worth a breakup?
Yes, I do 100%. And
So you think I should put myself out there
yeah,
to experience the real feeling of
look, like I said in my first answer about love, we get one life on this earth, as far as we know. I mean, allow yourself to feel these emotions. We're kind of in a society now where like it's all about muting our emotions and not allowing ourselves to feel. We use every possible distraction to avoid opening ourselves up and really truly feeling these feelings. Like we have our phones to distract us every minute. Even look, people are driving and texting, putting their lives at risk every minute because they're scared to just sit in their car and be silent with their thoughts for a moment.
Those emotions, no.
So look, we have to be willing to live life and feeling love, and on the flip side of it, heartbreak. There's no more real feelings you can experience. You have to, I mean, that's life. You have to let yourself feel.
I hear you, but I don't think anybody in this world wants to see a heartbroken Platini. No, I get really passionate about everything, and if I was to fall in love and get heartbroken,
you don't know.
Devastating.
You don't know until you try, my friend.
At the age of 28, going through my first heartbreak ever.
It's never too late.
I don't think it's a good age.
It's never too late.
I think I missed that part of my life, and that's why I don't believe in marriages. I don't believe in none of that. I'm just gonna be a single man. I'm gonna be the one uncle. That's what I'm gonna be.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
but you should allow yourself to experience the best things in life.
All right. Well, this is a little bit personal now. If you feel like you wanna share, please tell us your love story. Maybe the first one. I don't know how many times you've been in love, but
well, no, I think my story. I've had, I would say, at least 3 or 4 committed, serious relationships, and so I think I'm a prime example of the fact that it's possible to fall in and out of love, right? And it's like that feeling you get, the one I was describing of like, oh, this person, you're just obsessed with this person. That's a feeling you can catch. And that's what I interpret as love is, but there's different levels to it of love, right? It's that first feeling you can catch, but then it's where you build onto it from there to getting to a point of unconditional love. And so I don't think I've successfully made it to that point. Obviously, I'm out here still single.
Unconditional love?
Today, yeah, unconditional love where you can love this person.
Don't you think might be you've never really been in love? You've just been infatuated about the idea of certain people? Because I have felt like this was the person a lot. But as we just 6 months, for 3 months, and I realized, okay, well, I don't.
But love, I would describe it as getting to know a person on such a deep level, and really understanding them and really loving who they are. And so even if it turns out that that's not an unconditional love, it doesn't mean you don't love that person. They're exes I was in relationships with, I could say I still love them. I love them
as a person.
I love them as a person, and so it's not to the level of unconditional love that I was ready to maybe commit my entire lifetime. So there's levels to it. There's levels to it, man. I mean, to answer your original question, because I don't think I answered it, that building a friendship, I do think, is what can really lead to that unconditional love, because the physical is always going to fade.
It's going to go away.
It's always going to, like I said, that's the physical might be what catches our attention in the beginning, but that's always going to fade. Is there somebody that when you're old and gray and you're sitting there, is there someone you can still talk to? When you're old and gray and you're just 2 old people sitting there, is there someone who you still...
Well, that's something I'm afraid most of the people in our generation will never get to. That's a place I don't think a lot of us will ever get to. Yeah, again, it's a lot of reasons. It's a lot of reasons.
No, it's a hard thing to build to nowadays. Yeah,
the fact that we have too many options out here.
too many options, too many distractions.
Anybody.
No one wants to put themselves out there.
Absolutely. So it's a lot.
We all have ways of protecting ourselves now, not making ourselves vulnerable to one another.
Everyone is like, this is what I want. There's this trend.
Cutting people off, like we discussed in previous episodes, and that doesn't bring you peace. That's the message.
It doesn't.
You don't get.
You just end up alone for the most part. It's crazy.
There's no way to have
walk
pure peace in this life.
Yeah, you have to walk through difficult times with people.
Amen.
All right, you believe in love. Well, you didn't really tell us your love story, how it started and how it ended, but it's okay.
I've had a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stories for another time, perhaps.
Okay, it's fine. All right, that's that for me.
All right, I asked you about the cheating one. That was a good discussion.
Oh, yeah.
I also asked you, is the United States the most racist country in the world? You said no.
I said no with a high pitch.
Yeah.
It's the biggest no I've ever said.
An emphatic no.
Yes. And the reason I said no is, let's be realistic. America is pretty racist. Yes, racism is real in America. But North Korea is on Earth. China is on Earth. Russia is on Earth. There are no black people or people from other races in these countries that I just mentioned. It's just their people. The reason to why it is like that in their countries don't matter. Your question is America the most racist country on Earth? And the answer is no, because there are black people in America. There are people from Latin America in America. And there are people from Asia in America, and everybody is striving. Does it mean we don't have some degree of racism in this country? No, we have some degree of racism. It's just, it is not the most racist country on earth.
So don't you think that, as we've discussed on this show many times, I mean, this is a country of immigrants. This country has never been only one race. It's always been a mixed country, and yet, in the 400 years plus of this country's existence, the genocide against people of color in this country has never ended. It was founded on the genocide against Native Americans. It was built on the backs of African slaves.
Yeah.
And that has never ended. We've still, throughout the entire existence of this country, built a system that is hurting those people of color, continues to do so. If you think slavery is over, just look into what private prisons are, right? Those are prisons that are, profit off of locking up young black men, basically. I mean, that's who get locked up, and
That is their business model.
that's the business model. And those prisons then thrive off of getting prison labor out of these young men. If that's not slavery, I don't know what is. And so we've literally built this country off of slavery.
I think when slavery was abolished, though, it was accepted in the prison system. I think that was the entire idea.
No, that was their way around it, right?
Yeah.
Certain parts of this country have never given up on slavery. Let's be real. We live in a very progressive area of the country, but go down to certain areas of the South.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the people fighting against.
Like I said, to answer your question,
You know,
I did not say America was not racist. I said this country is very racist, but the most racist country on the planet, it is not. It's just not even close. Now, why did I say this? In America, it's very possible to see something that doesn't work for you. Go out in the street and protest against it. I do not think you can go out in the streets in Moscow and protest against, how do they call it, civil rights. You're not doing it.
well,
You're not gonna do that in China, and we already know you're not even gonna dare to try to do that in North Korea.
but as you mentioned, they don't have those populations of people, and
And
so
you know why they don't have those populations of people?
because they didn't have slavery.
That might be one of it. Why? Okay, are black people in America, like Latinos in America, all from the slave era?
No, and that's why I opened my statement by saying we've acknowledged this is a country of immigrants.
Thank
That's
you.
how the United States
So
started.
why-
That's not the case.
why are
That's not
immigrants-
Russia's history.
Why are the immigrants not going to Russia today? China.
No, don't present the same opportunities there.
Okay, let me tell you something. It's not even. When I was in Cameroon, right, trying to, again, sorry that I'm bringing it to a personal level, trying to migrate out of Cameroon. I could have just gone anywhere. Anywhere was better than Cameroon. Anywhere. But for once, Russia never crossed my mind. And the reason Russia never crossed my mind, the same reason for thousands and thousands of people that try to come to America is because we just know we're not going to be accepted there. Well, at least we also know in America it's not easy. But we also know that in America we get some degree of having a voice and a fighting chance that Russia will not even give us. China will not even give us. I already explained to you how black people in China, when you're walking down the street, sometimes people follow you around with cameras, taking pictures of you like you're a monkey in a zoo. That's the level they're still at.
Sure. But I mean, like, first of all, I believe all forms of racism are rooted in ignorance. But the type of racism you're talking about is based on just the spectacle. They don't see a lot of people of color, and so they're shocked to see it. That's a spectacle to them. That's different than in the United States, where we've lived side by side for centuries, and there's still racism.
Okay, for these countries that I just mentioned to get to this point where we are, they're gonna first have to do one thing, which is accept the fact that other people can come to their countries and strive. Before they will, which is gonna take them over 100 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
Then now when they get to that point, before they start now trying to be neighbors with people that are not of their same race, like we are already doing in America now. And you see, somehow we are making progress. Slowly, but we are making progress, right? These people haven't even accepted the fact that someone can come from another race, from another country, and strive in their countries. That's how racist they still are. They still have that dark, deep racism.
Yeah. As I said, it's rooted in ignorance, right?
Thank you. So, but America cannot be more racist than them. Because we have already passed that. We are already at a place where people can migrate to America and strive.
But I think there's a difference between the very intentional racism that happens in the States. People of color in this country are intentionally held down.
I mean, that's
persecuted.
Isn't that the definition of racism?
Yes.
It's intentionally marginalizing another race.
It's not the only form of racism, because I mean, you could hold certain beliefs about other people just based on not understanding, misunderstanding them. So that's where I'm drawing
your line.
I'm highlighting the difference here. In Russia, they wouldn't even begin to understand, like, African Americans and their culture, because they don't experience that in Russia. And so, yeah, they might be racist and prejudiced against people of color due to their lack of understanding. Whereas in the United States, the white people in the United States are well aware of African Americans, because, like I said, for centuries we've been living side by side, but they're still very intentionally racist against these people.
I hear you very well, but you're a white guy in America. I don't think you're racist.
Thank you for noticing.
I don't think you're racist.
No, I'm not. I mean, I would.
And I've already met a bunch of white people in America that I don't think are racist. A lot of them. We get along really well. Now, I don't think if I go to Russia, I will find two people in Russia that are not racist somehow. You get it? But I've seen a lot of you guys here that are not racist.
Mm-hmm.
That just says that this country has progressed more than Russia.
And yet, our system, the system in place, is still built on white supremacy. It's still built to hold certain groups of people back. That's why I would consider us advanced racism. We're expert racists in the United States versus what you're describing, which is just ignorance.
Russia have to pass where they stand to even get to advanced racism.
Sure.
And guess what is happening right now? As the years are going, time is passing, things are changing in America. In the 1960s, we had white water, black water. Today, we don't have white water, black water. Everybody's studying in the same classroom. There's some progress, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In Russia, we're not even in their society yet to even know the level of racism we will face in their society.
Yeah, but don't you think completely different histories between the two countries, right? Like we mentioned, the United States literally built on the backs of slaves. And the system built on racism. Russia doesn't have that same history. So it's a different dynamic, like if they started having an influx of immigrants coming into Russia, I think it's going to be a different experience. Yeah, it's going to take the Russians a long time to get used to it.
That's what I'm saying. Because of that, we cannot put America before Russia with president. I cannot imagine a time in history that a black person will ever be a president in Russia. I just cannot imagine that in China.
But they'd have
Most
to be
of
born
all,
there first.
North Korea.
And they would also have to overthrow a dictator
It,
in Russia.
it is, it's never going to happen. But in America, I'm seeing a lot of progress. For these young ones that are growing up, I think we're going to have a very better society than we do.
God willing.
Thanks to Martin Luther, Malcolm X, all of the great people that fought for this. And guess what? These people did not get us to this point in time in history alone. I believe there were a lot of white people that fought for it. That's the only way.
It's been generations and generations of
Thank you. That's the only
fighting
way.
these battles. And as we well know, especially being here in Minnesota, these battles are not done being fought. That's what's, in some cases, such a strong reminder of how racist this country is. I mean, here in Minneapolis, we nearly had to burn down the entire city just in order for the justice system to press charges against a police officer who
I was here.
kneeled on George Floyd's neck for 9 straight minutes, murdering him. And so that's an important reminder, right? The reason that any action was even taken in that case was because there were riots all over the country.
Everybody went. It wasn't just all over the country. It was all over the world.
All over the world.
I've never seen something like that.
Just in order to get justice.
I cannot
One
believe
of the first ever
it was all
examples
over the world.
of a white police officer being charged or being convicted.
But then again, you see what I'm saying, right? And you're trying to get my point. But I'm not saying that there is no racism in America. I'm just saying, in as much as there's a lot of racism in America, especially institutional racism that happens in banks and schools, even in hospital, I even hear cases of like black patients or patients of color getting treated differently in hospitals from white patients.
Of course.
It's a fact, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of statistics on it.
Thank you. All I was getting to was it's just not the most racist country in the world. Yeah, there's a lot of racism in America. There's a lot of work to be done, but the most racist country on earth, no, they're worse. That's what I was getting to.
Well, and it's important to acknowledge we have come a long way. I mean, progress has been made. So I don't want to give the impression that because we still have a lot of racism in this country that we haven't made progress. But we're the most practiced, certainly the most, as I mentioned before, expert at being racist.
All right. Do you still have any more questions for me in this line of questioning, or are we done with America?
Let's move to the next.
Okay, that was me now. I think we are down to the last question of the day.
Well, I think we actually want to address the questions from the previous episode.
Oh, yeah, we wanted to address the questions from the previous episode that we asked in the rapid fire round, and we did not get to.
Yes, follow up on some important issues that we touched on in a previous episode.
And then we did not get to.
Make sure we discuss these topics.
All right, I asked you in the rapid fire round on our previous episode if you think, in line with this fight, this equality fight between men and women, I asked you if you think we should let women play in men's sport and men play in women's sport, and you said no. Why?
Oh well, I believe my final answer was no. I said depends, and the reason
you said depends.
The reason it depends is because look, I think that I'm all for equality. I think that professional sports could easily be based on level of skill and talent. It's based on merit, right? And if you're talented enough to participate, you should be. On the other hand, I think it's very important, and I think most people would agree, it's good to have separate leagues for male and female athletes. This allows for what we otherwise wouldn't likely have, which is getting to see the professional female leagues like our own Minnesota Lynx, who have been very successful in recent years. I watched them in the WNBA finals just recently. And we wouldn't be as likely to get this opportunity to see these very talented professional athletes play if there were not female leagues versus male leagues. Now, there's other instances, right? There's professional, there's the National Football League. There's not really a female counterpart to that. There are many actually female football leagues that not well known on a professional level. So it's an interesting question to address, right? Do we think that a woman should or could be able to play in the National Football League?
No, if we should be able to allow them to play in each other's sports, like let women play in the male leagues. That was the question.
Yeah, let them play.
Actually, I would disagree with you. I think
Really?
it's a terrible idea. It's a terrible, terrible idea. Women and men, we might fight for equality for both women and men, but biologically, we don't have the same strength. Women do not have the same strength as men. And I believe most female athletes will tell you the same thing.
Right, but
Imagine having a woman fight Francis Ngannou.
in most cases, that probably wouldn't be a good idea.
Okay. Imagine having a woman go against LeBron James.
No, yeah. I mean, if in some cases it's just
The
not.
biology doesn't just allow it.
No, there are certain
The genetics do not allow it.
there are certain biological facts we can't ignore, right? But that isn't to say though that there aren't some women who are much stronger and more athletic than some men.
Now, when
So they're
again,
I mean,
we are looking at the average. We are looking at the percentages. It's just a crazy thought that a lot of people are. And I find it very ridiculous that this is even a conversation in our society today. I find it really, really ridiculous that I get to sit down and watch professional mainstream medias have handled this like it should be even a problem. It is not. We should not let women play in men's sports, period. It's just stupid that we are even trying to promote this idea. It's ridiculous. And we need to stop. Somebody's going to get killed if we keep, if we keep doing this.
is that an issue? I feel like in most cases women have their own
Yes.
leagues now.
And here's the thing. Women have worked so hard to get to this point. They have struggled to be heard, to get the right to vote, to work these jobs, and to be in public spaces, equal with men. And I think this radical feminism is trying to destroy all of that with these stupid ideas. Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to me that they have amazing, beautiful leagues for women, and you guys want to put them to compete against men. They will never win a medal. They will never win anything if you put them against men.
Do you think?
Who can take Michael Phelps?
No, sure. I mean, is that really what feminists are saying?
Oh, that's what I said.
That they want them to compete.
That's what I said. Radical feminism. There's always, again, extremism in everything.
Yeah.
There's beautiful from feminism advocating for women's rights, but there's always those people inside that are just never don't get it. Why?
Well, I think that the hotter topic nowadays, and reminder to our audience, we touch on every sensitive subject on this show. We're at least willing to ask questions and not here claiming to be experts on any of these topics, but
No.
but we're willing to be open and discussing them, and I believe that's an important thing to mention, right? Is we're here because we want to express, answer these questions the best we can, but also want to hear your thoughts and your feelings on these matters. But I think the hotter topic nowadays has become about trans athletes.
Oh yeah.
Trans athletes participating, and so that's more seems to be what the media has been.
When I say women, I was going with like biological women and biological males. Yeah. So if you're a biological female and you become trans and you want to go try the male sport, okay, I don't really like it. Go ahead, try it. But you'll feel it on your body when you get in there. But if you're a biological male that transitioned to a female, I don't think you should just be allowed in women's sport. I don't think so. Because if that's the case, then why am I even working today? I should just go be a professional athlete. Transition into a lady, get into the boxing, get into the female boxing and dominate the whole thing. Because I believe I can.
I don't know if you want to. I don't know. Do you think you can compete with professional female boxers?
Do I think I can? I don't think I can fight all of them. But like get some medals and get some recognition, absolutely. I can throw a punch. Absolutely. Right. So that's why
I think we should test this theory out.
Yeah.
Let's get Platini in the ring.
Anyone that is willing to try, let's put up the money and let's get in the ring.
You heard it here first.
No rules. No
TV
rules.
is challenging women to a boxing match.
No. I said some. Let's get this right.
All right.
Yeah, most professional female boxers, I wouldn't mind getting them. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. So I don't think it's right that if a man was to transition to a lady, then we just let them play. Imagine LeBron transitioning and playing in again. Sorry, it's an example. Look at LeBron. Is it 6 foot? How tall is he?
6'7", 6'8".
Okay, 6'7", 6'8". That build, that physique.
Maybe 6'6".
Yeah, imagine him in the WNBA.
Yeah.
No, that's not just right. So
No.
I think it's a very bad idea. But again, I'm not an expert. I'm just pointing out something that I see that's happening in society that I don't think should be happening. But I'm not an expert.
Well, I mean, I think that we have a lot of amazing athletes, male and female. And like I mentioned, I enjoy watching both.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed watching the WNBA finals.
Let's just keep it like that. Let's keep it like that.
Sure.
Yeah, no need to change it. Well, that's it for me. In this
We solved everything.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a question to follow up with that we didn't get to in the previous episode.
Okay.
And
I'm going to make it quick so that we can wrap it up. We are almost running out of time in this episode.
yes, and the question to you was, do you believe that the United States is a Christian nation?
You know, initially I used to have this belief that it was a Christian nation because I really did not understand the Constitution that much, even though I did pass the test to become a citizen. But after more research, it is not. It is not a Christian nation, even though it just promotes the idea of you practicing any religion of your choice or no religion at all. So it is not a Christian nation.
Yeah, and it's not. I think it's a misconception. I mean,
I had
we see a lot of people, in particular amongst conservatives,
Yeah, I had that
like
misconception.
yourself,
Yeah.
that they believe that this is a Christian nation. Even those who are in positions of power and who are supposed to be representing the Constitution of the United States. But there's very very clearly printed in the Constitution itself that we have separation of church and state, which means you can free to practice your religion, whatever that may be, but that's separate from the laws of the land.
It cannot be a Christian nation if it clearly says practice any religion of your choice or no religion at all. It clearly states that if it was a religious nation, it would say practice Christianity. That's a law. Who would have said that? But it's giving you the choice to either be a Christian, a Muslim, or whatever it is your religion is, or not even be in a religion at all. So when I went back and I looked at it, because again, I had that misconception. So I would like to admit that publicly here. But when I went back and looked at it, I realized that even though a lot of the founding fathers were Christians, when they were writing the Constitution, they did not put that in the Constitution. They made it in a way that everybody can be free to do whatever they want.
Well, even as Christians, they specifically put, wrote it in themselves that you have the freedom to practice your religion, and that should be separate from the law of the land. And so, it's an important point to make, right? Because we have lawmakers who, and especially nowadays,
Who kind of think that this is a Christian nation?
well, and that are informing their political ideologies based on those religious beliefs, which goes against what this country really
Yeah,
stands
we can't do that. We cannot do that. Anybody in America is allowed to practice any religion of their choice. We see the Constitution is right there. Yeah. So to answer your question, no, I do not think it's a Christian nation. I think we have the freedom to do whatever we want in America, and that's the beauty of America: freedom.
Freedom.
Right.
It's the country in which we live.
Yeah. Do you have any follow-ups about that, or did I just answer it directly?
No, I think it's a great closing. We can close on a positive note, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Latini has come around to agreeing that this is
Because it's a fact.
it's a fact, right?
Yeah, it's a fact.
We're
There's
not
no
a
reason to
Christian
go
nation.
about it. We're not.
Freedom of religion, separation of church and state.
Absolutely.
This show is about learning and improving on our knowledge and our intellect.
Yep.
That's the way forward for us as a country. Important conversations to be had on this show.
A lot. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We'll see you guys on our next episode. And feel free to send as many questions as you wish. Again, if you're directing your questions to Ben, you can always say, Ben, I have this question for you. If it is to me, you can always ask me. And if it's just to all of us, we'll write them down and we'll address them. So thank you guys so much.
See you next episode.